Hello everyone, good morning. Thanks for joining our Keeping It Simple webinar. We're recording this session and we'll submit a link to the recording over the next few days. Our next webinar is scheduled for Wednesday, August 5th and will be hosted by Bryan. It is entitled Ask the Confluence Expert. As you have questions, please be sure to provide them via the questions utility in the GoToWebinar control panel. We will queue them up and answer them towards the end of this session. On the webinar today from Praecipio Consulting, we have Bryan Robison. He is a Senior Solution Architect and will be presenting today's webinar. My name is Shane Cormier. I'm a Business Development Manager for Praecipio Consulting, and I will be serving as your moderator. We have been Atlassian expert partners for over 6 years now and are one of 5 Platinum Enterprise experts in the country. Over 99% of our projects are Atlassian related, and we have hundreds of clients across the US ranging in size from 20-person companies to Fortune 20 enterprises spanning many different industries. We help our clients with process-centric technology solutions that facilitate traditional business process management, IT service management based on IDLE, and software development lifecycles. In the SDLC space, we're helping clients transition from traditional waterfall to agile. Whatever widgets you produce, we help improve the quality and throughput at the lowest cost. We support our clients in all facets of the Atlassian product suite, and build methodologies and solutions across the entire product line, such as solutions, architecting and implementations, licensing, upgrades and maintenance, solutions, managed services, hosting, add-on development, and training. I would now like to hand it off to Bryan Robison, Senior Solutions Architect with Praecipio Consulting. Bryan has an extensive knowledge in software development and the Atlassian Dev Tool Suite. Over to you, Bryan.
Thank you, Shane, and good morning, everyone. I'm Bryan Robison, Senior Solutions Architect at Praecipio Consulting, and I'll be leading today's webinar. As a former software developer, this content is near and dear to my heart. So let's begin. Today we're going to start with a brief overview of Atlassian's dev tools. Most of you may already be familiar with Jira and Confluence, but did you know that there are 7 tools that comprise the dev tool stack? We'll take a quick look at each one and where it falls within the big picture. Then, we're going to discuss 3 themes that are essential to keeping things simple: integration, collaboration, and automation. When we finish, we'll take some time to answer your questions. Before we talk themes, let's talk about Atlassian's DevTools stack. Atlassian makes a lot of products. There's software for everything from project management and issue tracking, to team collaboration, to source code management, code review and coverage, and to continuous integration and delivery. Confluence and Jira are industry standards for team collaboration, project management, and issue tracking. The DevTool stack is comprised of the products you see on this slide: BitBucket, Stash, and SourceTree for source code management, Fisheye, Crucible, and Clover for code review and coverage, and Bamboo for continuous integration and delivery. Atlassian source code management products include BitBucket, Stash, and SourceTree. BitBucket is the cloud offering, perfect for small to medium-sized teams and those that may be working on open source projects or code bases meant to share with the public. Stash and Stash Data Center are aimed at enterprise teams and those who wish to keep their code securely behind the firewall. The feature sets between BitBucket and Stash are nearly identical and becoming closer and closer every day. SourceTree is Atlassian's free Git and Mercurial client. It helps teams visualize their repositories and perform common and not so common operations with a couple of clicks rather than a rash of keystrokes. Fisheye is an essential tool for providing a read-only window into your Subversion, Perforce, or CVS repositories, or your Git and Mercurial repositories that aren't managed by BitBucket or Stash. Crucible allows you to review code, discuss changes, share knowledge, and identify defects with its flexible review workflow and code coverage metrics for Subversion, Perforce, and CVS. Clover is Atlassian's tool for Java and Groovy code coverage and runs in your IDE or your continuous integration system. It includes test optimization to make your tests run faster and fail more quickly. Bamboo is a continuous integration and delivery tool that ties automated builds, tests, and releases together in a single workflow. It works great alongside Jira and Stash, providing a fully traceable deployment pipeline. Bamboo is available both in the cloud and behind the firewall. The latest version includes support for creating build agents using Docker, which lets you run multiple remote agents on the same host without conflicting requirements. Now that we've reviewed the products within the DevTools stack, let's take a look at our first theme in today's webinar: integration. For most developers, we start our day off in Jira, browsing our assigned issues, or combing through the current sprint's backlog for a new feature to develop or a bug to fix. But once we start working, with our focus buried in our IDEs, our Jira issues are seldom kept up to date with any progress we're making in the code. Jira's development panel aims to fix that. Shown here on the View Issue screen, it provides the following functionality. For BitBucket or Stash, it allows us to view and create branches, view and create pull requests, and view commits. For Fisheye Crucible, we can view commits, view branches, and view and create reviews. And in Bamboo, we can view the status of builds and deployments. The development panel also works with GitHub in read-only mode to view commits, branches, and pull requests. In Jira 6.4, Atlassian introduced Release Hub, a new way to show real-time version progress and release code directly from Jira. With Release Hub, you can view commits, builds, and deployments related to each issue, spot potential development issues before they're released to staging or production, and cut a release directly from Release Hub itself. Now let's take a look at a demonstration of how integration keeps things simple. For the first part of this demonstration, I'm going to walk you through the development panel on the Jira issue screen. Now what we have here is a Jira issue screen. It's part of the demo website project. This particular issue is called Learn About Bryan, and it's part of the demo website updates epic. And the status right now is set to done. This is a completed issue. Now what we have over here is our development panel, and it's going to show us the status of our issue inside Stash and Bamboo. Now if we start reading from the top down, we see we have one branch in Stash, we have two commits in Stash, and we have a merged pull request. We also have a successful build in Bamboo, and our build has been actually deployed to our demo Apache server. Now this gives me a nice bit of information at a glance about how my issue progressed through the work. Now what I can do now is actually drill down into each of these and get more information about what's been accomplished during the work on this particular issue. So clicking on our branch, we can see which repository the branch belongs to. In this case, it's our demo website. See the branch name was Demo 7 Learn About Bryan, which actually corresponds right back to our Demo 7 issue in Jira. We can see the status that there was a pull request. It was pull request number 3, Demo 7 Add About Bryan page, and it's been merged. Could also create an additional pull request for this particular branch. Looking at the commits, see that there were 2 commits as part of this issue. The first one was when our code was actually committed into Stash, and the second commit was actually when our pull request was merged into our master branch. Another thing you can do with this screen is click on the files and see which files were actually added as part of this commit. Here's the pull request window. This gives us information about the ID of the pull request and its title, its status, the author, the reviewer, and then we can actually see that there were 2 comments made on this pull request. Now, clicking on the comments here would actually open Stash and let us see the comments that were made during the commits and the code review for this particular issue. Switching to Bamboo, we can get a little bit of information about our Bamboo build. You can see that it was part of the demo website build plan. It was build number 12. It took 6 seconds to process when it was completed, and by clicking on Show Artifacts, we can see that there's a links file and an index plus jar file that was created during the build. And here we can see any deployments that were related to this particular issue. You can see here that we were deployed to our demo Apache server environment. Status is deployed, and the release was build 22. So the development panel in the Jira issue screen is a really easy way for developers and project managers and product owners to be able to see the status of a particular issue during the development process. The second piece of integration I'd like to demo for you today is Jira's Release Hub. And switching over to this other project, this is an Agile project we have. Here's the Scrum board for it. You can see we've got a bunch of issues in Sprint A. We've got some in our backlog. These are all tagged with version number 1.0. What we can do if we want to track the progress of release 1.0 is come over here to releases. Shows us that we have 2 versions in this particular project, 0.5 and 1.0. 1.0 has some progress, so let's take a look. And see there's 21 issues in total, 5 are done, 16 are still to do. If we want to drill down further, come over here to the version 1.0 link, click on that, and we get the release hub for version 1.0. Now it's still showing us that it's unreleased. We haven't really set any start or release dates yet. We can see there's 21 issues total in the version, 5 are done, none are in progress, and 16 are still to do. Now down below, we get a list of the issues that are in this particular version. There's some additional features within the Release Hub that allow us to set warnings about when particular issues haven't transitioned properly, if they're awaiting code reviews, if they've been closed without code reviews, things like that. We can also get a list of the release notes for this particular version. This is a really handy way of grabbing the release note information, pasting it into a README or onto a website. By clicking on release notes, it automatically generates these release notes based on the story and the task. So the issue type is represented here. And then at the bottom, we can copy the release notes and paste them into another document. Another thing we can do with the Release Hub is actually release straight from this particular page. What we would do here is come over, click on the release button. This helps us set up a Bamboo build plan. You can choose the date and then cut the release. Building off our integration theme, let's take a look at the second theme in today's webinar, collaboration. You may already know that Confluence is a great tool for collaboration. All kinds of teams use it for sharing content, documenting processes, creating knowledge bases, and capturing meeting notes. Confluence is also great for defining product requirements. But did you know that it's possible to turn those requirements into Jira issues seamlessly without leaving Confluence? When connected to Jira, Confluence has the ability to create Jira issues right from the requirements on a page. And if you're using a table to record your requirements, Confluence can create all of those issues for you automatically with a couple of clicks. Another benefit is the automatic link that's created between Jira and Confluence. Your Jira links show up in Confluence, and your Confluence links show up in Jira. This keeps things simple for developers, since there's always a link back to the original product requirement for the issue or feature they're working on. Atlassian's tools like Crucible, BitBucket, and Stash all allow you to review, discuss, and modify your code before it goes into your shared repository. Crucible accomplishes this through support for pre-commit reviews. BitBucket and Stash use pull requests that provide you with a quick and easy way to review changes made on a branch, discuss those changes, and make further modifications before the branch is merged to master or your main development branch. BitBucket and Stash let you comment on a pull request as a whole, at the file level, or even at a specific line in a file. You can also use branch permissions or plugins to restrict which users and groups can merge a pull request into another branch. Here's a demonstration of how collaboration using Confluence and code reviews in Stash help keep things simple. For this next demo, we're going to be dealing with our demo website you see on the screen here. Now, this is just a simple demo website we've put together. And it's got a home page, it has an about page, and then it's got a couple of profile pages for our developers. Now we've got Isaac and Christopher. Now our product owners come down and said that we need to have profile pages for all of our developers. And guess what? I'm the next one on the list. So I have a demo website requirements page here. This is in Confluence. And it's part of this epic, which is add team member profiles to the demo website. Now, we've got some goals. They want me to add a file about Bryan Robison to the demo website. It should describe me, and it should show some integration among the Atlassian suite. Now, down here toward the bottom, I've got a requirements section. It's got two requirements listed. The first one is to create a profile page for Bryan. And then the second one is to add profile details about Bryan. So what we're going to do throughout the webinar is create these pages and, create the page and then make some updates to the page. So traditionally what I would do is take these requirements, go to Jira, manually create Jira issues for each one of these requirements. Now Confluence has some really nice integration into Jira. What we can do here is highlight our create profile page for Bryan. It'll give us these two options here. The first is to add an inline comment. The second is to create a Jira issue directly from these product requirements. So I'm going to click on the Create Jira Issue button. It's going to give me this modal dialog that says Create Issue. It's in the demo website project. It's going to be created as a story, and our summary is picked up from what we've highlighted on the page. And it's linked back to Demo 4, which is our epic. Now, if you see down here at the bottom, since we're using a table, we can create both issues from the same click. I've done that. So now what it's doing is it's pulling in the create profile page for Bryan requirement and the add profile details about Bryan requirement. Clicking the create button is going to go and create these issues for me in Jira. As the page is refreshed and we scroll down the page, see now I've got two issues created, Demo 15 and Demo 16. Clicking on Demo 15 is going to take us into the issue page for Jira. So now you see I've got a brand new story created inside my demo website project for create a profile page for Bryan. Now, this couldn't be simpler. Now that my issue is created, I can start working. First thing I'm going to do is come over and assign the issue to me. Come down to the development panel, click on Create Branch. I'm going to pick the Stash repository. You can see that my branch information is automatically populated. Set to the demo website, create a feature branch off of the master. My branch name is populated with the issue key and summary. Click on Create Branch. Now my branch is created in Stash. Since I have Source Tree installed, I can click on the menu, check out the branch in Source Tree, click the Checkout button, which will check out the code to my local repository. You can see here, branch is set to default. So now coming over into my text editor, got the source code pulled up. Here's Christopher's HTML file. So what I need to do is create another one for myself. I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to save it as Bryan.html. Then I'm going to grab some of Christopher's information, paste it into my file, change it. I like Git and Python, but instead of noodles, I'm going to say I like tacos. So now I've saved the file. Go back into source tree, click on my working copy, and see that I've got an unstaged file for Bryan.html. Click on this to add it to the staging area. I can create a commit message. This is demo 15, so I'm going to preface my commit message with the issue key. And I'm going to say add profile page for Bryan. Then prior to committing, I'm going to click this button for push changes immediately to origin. This is going to push my changes back up into stash. My code's been pushed up to stash. If I go back to stash and look at the commits, got a brand new commit right here, demo 15 add profile page Bryan. If I click on the commit hash, I can see the diff, and I've added a Bryan.html page. What I can do now is go back to the source code. See that Bryan.html is listed in my source. So this is all I need to do to fulfill this particular issue, is just create a Bryan profile page. So now that I've finished my code, I can go and create a pull request. It's going to create a pull request taking my feature branch demo 15, merge it into master. It's already filled in the title based on my last commit message. You could say adding profile page for Bryan here. I'm going to add Christopher Pepe as a reviewer to the page. I'm going to hit create, which is going to create my pull request. So now I have a pull request created for this particular issue. You can see in the pull request, I can look at the diffs, I can see what was changed, I can look at the commit history, and Chris can participate in this code review. Go to the diff page, we can look at the lines, we can come in here. Let's pretend let's say I really like tacos. Add a comment of inline commenting in our code review. So that's it for this demo. Let's get back to the slide deck. So far, we've talked about integration and collaboration themes in Atlassian's DevTools. The final theme in today's webinar is automation. Bamboo is Atlassian's tool for continuous integration and delivery. It supports integration with open source tools to build, test, and deploy all kinds of applications, which can be triggered automatically by changes to your source code repository. In addition to running builds and tests, Bamboo can connect to Jira, BitBucket, and Stash to provide a streamlined view of your whole development process. Some of its features include automatic branch detection, which detects new branches in your repository and automatically applies your continuous integration plan to them. You can also configure multiple build triggers, which can launch tests at scheduled intervals through the day for snapshots and nightly builds, or configure a trigger to watch your repository so tests are conducted each time a change is made. Finally, Bamboo makes understanding tests easy by automatically aggregating all of your test results into one easy-to-scan dashboard that you can drill down into to view the results of your tests. The final piece of functionality I'd like to mention today is my personal favorite, workflow triggers. Once configured inside your workflows, they synchronize your Jira issue status with information from your development tools, like BitBucket, Stash, Fisheye, Crucible, and Bamboo. So developers no longer have to leave their IDEs to update Jira manually. Triggers can be set so that creating a branch moves an issue from to-do to in progress, and opening a pull request moves an issue from in progress to resolved. Finally, an issue can be transitioned from resolved to closed just by merging the pull request. For our final demonstration, we're going to take a look at how automation with Bamboo and workflow triggers help keep things simple. For this final demo, we're going to pick up where we left off. So here's the pull request. I've added the profile page. Let's pretend that Chris has approved my pull request. I'm going to come over, merge our pull request here. So now that our pull request is merged, our code is into master. Now the next thing to do is to put this code into Bamboo, run some tests, and make sure that our code builds. So come over here. See that 6 seconds ago, a Bamboo build ran. It was a testless build. Click on build number 23. And we can see the build results summary from this build. Now what we've done is we've configured this automatically to where anytime changes are made to our source control repository in the master branch, the Bamboo is going to watch for those, create a build, run any unit tests we have on it, and make sure that our artifacts are packaged. So you can see in our build results summary, the build took 7 seconds. That included these 2 commits. The first commit was when we added the page to Stash. The second commit was when we merged our feature branch into our master branch. And that we're linked back to our Jira issue. So we've got really tight integration between Stash, Bamboo, and Jira all on one page. You can see we've got these artifacts to our links file and index plus jar file. And these were files that we took a look at earlier when we looked at the development panel in Jira. Now it's time to add this page to the website. We can go to our deployment project and add the page. Now we're not quite ready to do that yet because I've only created a placeholder. I still have another requirement in this particular release before I can release the code to deployment. So if we go back to Jira, go to our demo 16 issue, this is the add profile details about Bryan. So I'm going to create a branch for that, go through the same process I went through before. You can see how quickly this is to get going. Check out my branch and source tree. Then I'm going to add details to my page. So I'm going back to Chris's. I've copied it, pasted it in. Favorite foods. I like tacos. I like mac and cheese. And let's say I like meatballs. My favorite places. I like Austin. I like Seattle. And I like the beach. And my favorite tacos. Lingua and bean are pretty good, but I also like barbacoa. So now that I've added some of my favorite foods, places, and tacos, my code's ready to be checked back in. Go back to my working copy, stage my file. This time add demo 16 is the issue key. Add profile details. To hit commit. Pushing the changes back up to stash. Now that our code is back into stash, I can create a pull request here. Again, I'm going to add Chris, creator pull request. We'll pretend that he's approved it. So I'm going to go and merge it. Got our code merged. Bamboo should be running a build, and it is. This is build number 24. Click on this guy. So our build's run. This time it took 6 seconds. Add the profile details in here. So now we're ready for deployment. So I'm going to go ahead, create a release. Build result is going to be for build number 24, which is our latest build. Has 2 JIRA issues associated with it and 4 commits. If we click on the JIRA issues, you can see that the issues were for create a profile page, add profile details for Bryan. You can see the commit history here. So now I'm going to create a release. For release created, I'm going to go up to deploy. I'm going to deploy it out to our Apache server. It's going to take our master branch, our build 24 release plan, and we're going to deploy it out to our Apache server. So we're getting our status from Apache. It's successful. So if we go out to our demo website, click refresh, we now have a Bryan profile page added to our production website. So this demo showed you an end-to-end from Confluence to JIRA to Stash to Bamboo to your deployment server. Now, how about JIRA? So here's demo 15. You can see in the development panel, we've got 2 commits, 1 pull request, 1 build, and our deployment back to our demo Apache server. If you look at the status is set to done. Now, if you remember, the last time we used JIRA was to create a branch. We never went back to JIRA to tell it that we'd completed our work, but it's showing done, which is the last state in our workflow. So how do we do that? Well, we used workflow triggers behind the scenes in order to move our issue through its workflow. So to set those up, we go to our demo project here, come down to workflows, click on edit, take a look at our diagram. Now this is a very simple workflow. We just have 3 states: to do, done, and in progress. When an issue is created, it goes into the to do state. Now to go from to do to in progress, we could click on the in progress button in JIRA, or we could look at the transition, take a look at the triggers that are associated with it, see that we have a in progress transition. Then we have a trigger set for branch created. What this does is this will automatically transition our issue when a related branch is created in a connected repository. So in the case of Stash, whenever we create a branch for a particular issue, it's going to automatically transition our issue from to do to in progress. There's lots of other triggers that we could set. look at the Add Trigger menu, we see that we can create triggers for events such as pull request created, for commit created, for review started, review abandoned, review summarized. These are all different components based on Stash, based on BitBucket, Fisheye, and Crucible. Now, if we go back to our diagram and look at done, you can see there's a trigger on it as well. So when a pull request is merged, we can automatically transition the issue when a related pull request is merged in our connected repository. So as you've seen, workflow triggers are a really handy way of keeping an issue up to date with the events during the development process. To wrap things up, let's take a look at what we covered during today's webinar. First off, we reviewed Atlassian's DevTool stack and how each product fits into the development toolbox. Next, we discussed the three themes of today's webinar. Integration, where we talked about Jira's development panel and Release Hub. Collaboration, where we were introduced to Confluence's tight integration with Jira, and Crucible, BitBucket, and Stash's code review functionality. And finally, automation, where we talked about using Bamboo and workflow triggers to keep things simple for developers through automating frequent tasks. Now I'm going to turn things back over to Shane, who is going to moderate questions from the audience.
Thanks, Brian. So just a reminder, if you guys haven't submitted your questions, now's the time. I have a few here for you. So Brian, let's see. I have a question from Tim. He asked, what is the difference between Bamboo and other continuous integration tools such as Hudson, Jenkins, TeamCity, and other tools like that?
Well, Shane, that's a pretty good question. So Hudson and Jenkins are open source continuous integration servers. They've been around for a long time, and they're good options for teams who may be short on budget or want to kind of get their feet wet with continuous integration. And TeamCity is a commercial CI product like Bamboo. It's highly capable, but what you lose out with TeamCity if you're using other Atlassian products is the deep integration that we have between Jira and Confluence, Stash, and Bamboo.
Fantastic. Thanks. Let's see, we have another question from Robin. Can Bamboo do automated deployments? Can you set up a permission scheme with Bamboo?
All right, well, the first part of that, can Bamboo do automated deployments? It sure can. There's a whole trigger mechanism, the back end of Bamboo, that you can set up. So there's several types of triggers that you can set with Bamboo for deployments. You can use a timed daily build, where you put in the build time. Bamboo will kick off a build every day. Some teams use that to do nightly builds, and you could do a deployment out to a server. There's also ways to trigger on successful plan conclusion. So when your build plan goes through all its jobs, at the end, once the final job's successful, you can trigger deployment off of that. And teams might use that to take maybe a CI build or a staging build and push it directly out to their staging environments.
Interesting. Thank you. Let's see here. I have another one from Mike. He asks, how robust are permissions within Stash to prevent someone from, say, deleting any or all of the master branch?
Okay, well, in Stash you have what are called branch permissions. So what you can do is go in and configure the different branches. If you're doing feature branching, for example, you can let all of your Stash users commit and merge to feature branches, and then you can only set certain users, give them the ability to merge onto the master branch. If you're using something like Gitflow, you can do the same thing. You just have more branches that you can configure with permissions.
Awesome. All right. I have another one from Eric. He wants to know, in Stash, can you require a pull request to be approved before being merged?
Yes, you can. That's another setting within the security for Stash. When you go into the security settings, you can go in and configure how many approvers are required for each pull request, and then that number of approvers have to approve that pull request before the merge capability is allowed.
Awesome. All right, looks like this is our last question here. Isaac asks, which products can be configured to work with workflow triggers?
Okay, that's a good question. So thinking about workflow triggers, right now Jira has the capabilities to work with Stash and BitBucket, and we can configure workflow triggers based on when pull requests are created and when commits are created. And then it also has a capability to work with Fisheye and Crucible to work off of when code reviews are initiated or approved or rejected. And when you go into configure a workflow trigger, Atlassian also has a link down at the bottom to provide feedback to them where you see more integration. Where you see more integration points into Jira and the workflow trigger format.
Very nice. Let's see, let me check if there's any more here. I think that's all of our questions for today. A quick reminder about our next webinar, Ask the Confluence Expert, hosted by Bryan and I, will be on Wednesday, August 5th at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. Thanks for your time, everyone. Have a great day.